Gather around, my friends, for a tale of darkness and despair, a tale that has sent shivers down the spines of those who dared to seek the truth. In the heart of Norfolk, England, nestled deep within the ominous shadows of Rainham Hall, there resides a spectral presence so chilling, so malevolent, that the very mention of her name strikes terror into the hearts of those who know her well. The Brown Lady of Rainham Hall. The year was 1936 when photographers from Country Life magazine descended upon the ancient and decaying Rainham Hall, their cameras poised to capture something inexplicable, something beyond the realm of the living. Their mission was clear: to immortalize the enigmatic spirit that had long been rumored to haunt these hallowed halls. The ghostly legend they sought to capture was none other than Lady Dorothy Walpole, whose tragic fate had condemned her to an eternity of torment. Once, Lady Dorothy had been a young, vibrant beauty, but her life took a dark turn when she was married off to Charles Townsend, a man as cold and heartless as the stone walls of Rainham Hall itself. Her existence within those cursed walls was one of isolation and misery. Lady Dorothy was locked away from the world, her spirit shattered, her soul withering in the damp, dimly lit chambers. The night that brought forth the infamous photograph was one of chilling dread. The photographers ventured deep into the heart of the haunted mansion, their footsteps echoing through the corridors like whispers from the netherworld. And there, as the moon's pallid light bathed the grand staircase, she materialized. The Brown Lady, her visage twisted by anguish and sorrow, her once beautiful countenance now a grotesque mask of despair. Her long, matted hair clung to her pallid face like a funeral shroud. Her ghostly gown, tattered and trailing, seemed to billow with an otherworldly wind, though the air in that forsaken place lay stagnant and heavy. In the photograph, her ghostly figure appears to be descending the staircase, one skeletal hand reaching out, as though to seize a hold of some unseen specter. Her eyes, pools of inky darkness, bore into the very souls of those who dared to gaze upon the image. The legends say that Lady Dorothy was condemned to wander these cursed halls due to a betrayal of love, and her malevolence knows no bounds. She drifts through the corridors at night, her mournful wails and anguished sobs echoing through the desolate mansion. Those unfortunate enough to cross her path are met with a fate worse than death, an eternity of torment by her side. And so, the Brown Lady of Rainham Hall continues to haunt the dreams of those who dare to seek her out. A ghostly specter of a tragic love lost to the unforgiving darkness of time. Her cursed legacy lives on, a haunting reminder that some spirits are never at rest, forever trapped in the shadowy recesses of a world that knows no mercy, no escape, and no peace. Next comes the story centers around the RMS Queen Mary, a majestic ocean liner that once graced the high seas with its elegance and splendor. But do not let its grandeur fool you, for it is now considered one of the most haunted places in the world. The Queen Mary, a vessel that witnessed both grandeur and tragedy, lies moored in Long Beach, California, a ghostly specter of its former glory. Once, it was the epitome of luxury and opulence, a floating palace that carried the elite and the hopeful across the vast expanse of the ocean. But now, in its retirement as a hotel and museum, it plays host to guests of a spectral nature. Those who dare to step aboard this hallowed ship often find themselves embroiled in encounters that defy the laws of the living. Ghostly apparitions roam the darkened passageways, their footsteps echoing through the empty corridors, chilling the bones of anyone unfortunate enough to hear. One of the most notorious phantoms that haunts the Queen Mary is the Lady in White. She is a vision of ethereal beauty and chilling terror, her ghostly presence a harbinger of doom. Her appearance is often preluded by a drop in temperature, an eerie coldness that pierces to the soul. As the ship's guests retire to their cabins for the night, they may be awakened by the sound of a woman weeping in the darkness, and there, at the foot of their beds, they may find her, the Lady in White. Her long, flowing gown billows as if caught in a spectral wind, and her eyes, once brimming with sorrow, now gleam with a malevolent, otherworldly light. She is said to be the restless spirit of a woman who met a tragic end aboard the Queen Mary. Whether it was a lover's betrayal or a life cut short too soon, her anguish knows no bounds. She roams the ship, seeking solace or perhaps retribution, her presence an enduring reminder of the ship's dark history. But she is not alone in her torment. The Queen Mary is a graveyard for the souls who perished within its steel-clad walls during its years of service. The spirits of crew members, passengers, and soldiers who met their untimely demise still linger, their apparitions appearing in the most unexpected of places. The Queen Mary is a place where time stands still, where the veil between the living and the dead is gossamer thin. To wander its darkened hallways is to invite the unknown, to bear witness to the spectral remnants of lives cut short and dreams left unfulfilled. So, if you ever find yourself aboard the RMS Queen Mary, beware the Lady in White and the countless others who haunt its decks, for in the depths of the night, as the ship creaks and groans, you may come face to face with the restless souls of the past, and the terror that grips your heart will be a reminder that some voyages are not meant for the living. Next as the story unfolds within the chilling embrace of the Tower of London, a place of legends, myths, and, above all, unspeakable horrors. This historic fortress, rising like a malevolent sentinel on the banks of the River Thames, harbors a sinister reputation. It is said to be one of the most haunted places in all of England, and the ghosts that inhabit its forlorn chambers are not of the benevolent kind. The tower's grim history has cast a shadow so profound that the very walls seem to whisper dreadful secrets to those who dare approach. One spirit, among the many that roam these grim corridors, stands out among the rest in her macabre notoriety. She is Anne Boleyn, the ill-fated wife of King Henry VIII. Her life met a gruesome end, and her death left an indelible mark on the tower's legacy. It is said that the spectral form of Anne Boleyn lingers in the Tower of London, her ghostly presence casting a pall of terror over any who cross her path. Witnesses have reported seeing her wandering the cold, stone hallways, her once beautiful visage now marked by the suffering she endured. But it is not just the sight of her that chills the marrow, it is the gruesome detail that makes the blood run cold. For Anne Boleyn is often seen clutching her own severed head, her eyes haunted by the pain of her final moments. Her disembodied head, with hollow eyes and a ghastly expression, is said to glow with an otherworldly light. The story of Anne Boleyn's death is a haunting one. Indeed, accused of treason and infidelity, she was imprisoned in the tower by her jealous and vindictive husband, King Henry VIII. Her sentence was death, and her executioner's axe fell with a cruel and merciless finality. Her decapitated head, a gruesome and brutal trophy, was displayed for all to see. The pain, the injustice, and the agony of that fateful day have bound Anne Boleyn to the Tower of London for all eternity. Her spectral presence serves as a constant reminder of the tyranny and cruelty that transpired within these stone walls. And so, as the night falls and the tower's ancient stones whisper their tales of woe, be cautious as you tread the darkened corridors, for Anne Boleyn's tormented spirit may cross your path, her eyes filled with a pain that defies the grave. Beware, for in the heart of the Tower of London, the past is very much alive, and the echoes of its tragic history may haunt your every step, causing terror to clutch at your heart and sending shivers down your spine. Next as the story unveils a sinister chapter in the annals of paranormal history, a tale that unfolded in the bleak, shadowy confines of a seemingly innocuous home in Enfield, London, during the late 1970s. This is the tale of the Enfield poltergeist, a haunting that would shock the world. The Hodgson family, residing within the unassuming walls of their humble abode, soon found themselves thrust into the grip of a malevolent force, one that defied reason and ignited a reign of terror that would haunt their very souls. The saga began with whispers, faint and chilling, echoing through the desolate halls, like the sibilant murmur of a sinister specter. But whispers soon transformed into malevolent actions that would terrorize the family beyond imagination. Furniture, once anchored firmly to the floor, began to move of its own accord, sliding and juddering across the room. Unexplained knocking resounded through the night, a cacophony of dread that seemed to emanate from unseen hands. It was the children who suffered most, for they bore the brunt of the poltergeist's cruel power. They were thrown from their beds, flung about like rag dolls by an unseen and vengeful hand. Even more chilling, they were said to levitate above their mattresses, defying gravity in an unholy communion with forces beyond comprehension. The paranormal events that plagued the Hodgson family grew increasingly bizarre and horrific, and as the intensity of the haunting escalated, so did the mounting fear that gripped their hearts. Those who dared to enter the house bore witness to the inexplicable, the surreal, and the nightmarish. In a desperate bid for help, the Hodgson family sought the aid of investigators, psychics, and even the police. Skeptics and believers alike converged upon the scene, their presence only serving to intensify the horrifying occurrences that plagued the household. As the months dragged on, the Enfield poltergeist's malevolence seemed to know no bounds. Its taunting laughter echoed through the air, a tormenting jeer that struck terror into the hearts of all who heard it. The walls themselves seemed to seethe with a malevolent energy, and the Hodgson family's lives were forever scarred by the relentless haunting. The Enfield poltergeist remains one of the most well-documented and chilling poltergeist cases in history, a haunting that continues to defy explanation to this day. It is a stark reminder that, in the shadows of the ordinary, there exists a realm where the inexplicable, the malevolent, and the supernatural converge, and where the ordinary rules of reality are rendered meaningless. So, my dear listeners, should you ever hear whispers in the dark or sense an unseen presence at your side, remember the chilling tale of the Enfield poltergeist, for in the shadows, where the inexplicable dwells, terror may seize your heart, and the line between reality and the paranormal may blur into an abyss of unfathomable horror. Next, we delve into the cold depths of the American South, where history is marred by unspeakable horrors and restless souls wander in the antebellum darkness. Unfolds amidst the exotic charm of the Myrtles Plantation. Nestled in the heart of Louisiana, this haunt is famous for its ghostly residents, and none of them are more notorious than the ghost of Chloe. The Myrtles Plantation, a grand and imposing estate, conceals within its moss-draped oaks and grand verandas a history steeped in blood and despair. Chloe, a name that sends shivers down the spine, was once a slave who toiled under the oppressive gaze of her cruel masters. Her fate was inextricably bound to the Myrtles, and her story is one of darkness and betrayal. Chloe's malevolent legacy is said to have been born of vengeance and tragedy. Her masters, the Woodruff family, were known for their brutality, and Chloe, in her desperation to secure her own freedom, concocted a sinister plan. She sought to poison her masters, believing that their suffering would buy her own freedom and that of her fellow slaves. Her nefarious plot went terribly awry. However, instead of only targeting her oppressors, her poison-laced cake claimed the lives of innocent children within the Woodruff household. Chloe, caught in her web of deception, was condemned to a gruesome fate. The vengeful plantation owners, rather than simply executing her, chose to mete out a brutal punishment. Chloe, bearing the weight of her guilt, was subjected to unspeakable horrors, and her punishment left her marked by the scars of her transgressions. She was forced to wear a turban to hide her disfigured ear, a constant reminder of her malevolent actions. Chloe's spirit is said to have never found peace, forever bound to the Myrtles Plantation by the weight of her guilt. She now haunts the very house in which she committed her crimes. Visitors to the estate have reported a litany of ghostly encounters. Phantom apparitions of Chloe have been seen, her spectral form appearing suddenly and vanishing into the ether. Mysterious handprints have materialized on mirrors, and the faintest whisper of a lamenting voice has echoed through the still night. The Myrtles Plantation is a place where the past reaches out from the shadows, where the cries of the wronged can still be heard, and where the living are forced to confront the malevolent remnants of history. So, my dear listeners, as you tread the dimly lit hallways and gaze upon the grandeur of the Myrtles, remember that the sins of the past cast long, lingering shadows, and that Chloe's tormented spirit may be closer than you think, waiting in the darkness to share with you the chilling legacy of the Myrtles Plantation. Next is the story in the early 19th century, where the Bell family of Adams, Tennessee, found themselves at the mercy of the infamous and vengeful Bell Witch. The Bell Witch haunting, a legend shrouded in fear and trepidation, recounts a harrowing series of events that forever scarred the souls of all who witnessed it. It began with the Bell family, led by John Bell, a respected farmer in the community, but little did they know that their lives were about to be torn asunder by forces beyond the realm of the living. The source of their torment, they would later discover, was none other than the malevolent spirit of Tate Batts, a neighbor with whom John Bell had shared a bitter dispute. As their feud grew, so too did Tate's ire, her malevolence manifesting itself with ever-increasing intensity. The entity, known as the Bell Witch, made her presence known with a relentless barrage of torment. She spoke with an ethereal, mocking voice, lashing out with terrifying accusations and dark prophecies. Her words, a sinister serenade of malice, filled the Bell household with terror. But the true horror of the Bell Witch haunting lay in the inexplicable and violent acts of poltergeist activity that plagued the family. Objects moved of their own accord, and the Bell children were subjected to vicious physical assaults, their flesh marred by unseen hands. No corner of the house was safe from the poltergeist's wrath, and the atmosphere grew thick with dread. In the dead of night, John Bell himself became the target of the Bell Witch's relentless torment. He was stricken with mysterious maladies, his health deteriorating rapidly. As the malevolent entity reveled in his suffering, the Bell family was trapped in a nightmare of their own making, their lives consumed by the relentless grip of the Bell Witch. As the haunting continued, a dark and foreboding climax drew near. John Bell, his life a living nightmare, was found dead, his body poisoned by an unseen hand. The Bell Witch took perverse pleasure in claiming responsibility for his death, her laughter echoing through the desolate house. The Bell Witch haunting remains a chilling testament to the malevolence of vengeful spirits. Her presence, once a source of dark torment, has never truly left Adams, Tennessee. The legend of the Bell Witch endures, a stark reminder that some grudges transcend the boundary between life and death, and that the echoes of her sinister laughter may still linger in the silent, moonlit hills. So, my dear listeners, be wary as you travel the lonely roads of Tennessee, for the Bell Witch's tale is a haunting testament to the enduring power of vengeful spirits and the horrors that may await those who dare to cross her path. Finally, the story or tale of the macabre unravels in the heart of San Diego, California, where the past and the present collide in a nightmarish crescendo of paranormal horrors. The Whaley House, a seemingly unassuming mansion nestled within the city's historic heart, is considered one of the most haunted places in all of the United States. In the twilight of the 19th century, the Whaley family built their imposing abode upon a patch of cursed land, unaware that their lives would become forever entwined with the malevolent spirits that lurked beneath its foundations. Thomas Whaley, the patriarch, sought to escape the shadows of his own past, but the darkness he fled seemed to have followed him, casting a haunting pall over his every step. As the Whaley family took residence in the house, the mansion's reputation as a haven for the supernatural began to grow. It was whispered that the specters of the past, both Whaley and otherwise, roamed the corridors, their presence casting ominous shadows across the walls. Visitors to the Whaley house have reported inexplicable and ghastly events. The anguished echoes of phantom footsteps resound through the stillness, the unseen intruders pacing the floors in restless agitation. Apparitions of the Whaley family members materialize, their spectral forms lurking in the corners, their eyes hollow and despairing. The apparition of Yankee Jim Robinson, a criminal who met a gruesome end on the very land where the house stands, is said to haunt the premises. He appears as a ghostly sentinel, a sinister specter who serves as a reminder of the tragedy that has befallen this accursed place. Doors creak and slam shut on their own, and chilling gusts of wind sweep through the house, as if driven by unseen, malevolent hands. Guests have experienced inexplicable drops in temperature, and a pervasive feeling of dread envelopes anyone who dares to step across the threshold. As the sun sinks below the horizon, the Whaley house becomes a place where the living and the dead merge in an unholy embrace. The tortured souls of the Whaley family, their tragic history etched into the very fabric of the mansion, refuse to rest in peace. Their restless spirits continue to dwell within the walls, their presence a reminder of the horrors that have unfolded there. So, my dear listeners, as you walk the streets of San Diego, beware the Whaley house, a place where the past never truly dies, and the specters of bygone eras cast an unyielding pall over the present. The horrors that await within its walls may haunt your dreams, a chilling reminder that the line between life and death is often tenuous and fragile, and that the Whaley house is a grim testament to the enduring power of the supernatural.